Trade is completely changing in Stellaris 4.0 and being a resource Gestalts can use. It's becoming a standard resource like energy or even alloys. With this comes logistics, using trade to pay for planet deficits and for your fleet. There's also a whole host of changes to branch offices, and finally, at last, criminal megacorps. In this video, I'm going to break down all the changes from this dev diary and give my opinions. Let's get into it. Trade and logistics. Trade as a standard resource. The trade system introduced in Stellaris 2.2 Logistical Update was raised as an especially frequent point of confusion for many players. I don't think I actually fully understand what's going on with it to this day. UX issues around disconnected trade stations combined with some quirks of being a modified base system, like ignoring habitability, made some of it unintuitive. The system had a major impact on performance as well, so while examining Stellaris for optimizations, we decided that we wanted to revamp the system. I 100% agree, it's a bit quirky, a bit weird, and it has its own menu when you actually go and look at like trade being collected, and it doesn't get affected by job buffs if it's working as a worker or a specialist. It's got its own thing going on. It's just weird. I like that this is what they've identified to change. In 4.0, trade will become a standard advanced resource, generally produced in the same way as before, but will follow all of the standard rules around resource producing jobs. Like I just mentioned, it didn't before. The trade route systems have been removed. Any produced trade will be immediately collected like any other normal resource. So this is meaning trade's essentially going to be in the same category of consumer goods and alloys, which is going to be very interesting, and we'll get buffs to it. So if you go meritocracy and you have advanced workers working for trade, they'll get those bonuses, whereas before they didn't. It's stupid. We have a screenshot showing the top bar with the caption saying we've done some cleanup to the top bar while we were in there. I'm going to load up Stellaris and actually look at the comparisons here, and we'll put the old one on the top, the new one on the bottom, so you can fully see it on one screen. My first reaction is it's looking clean, and that's because it's got divides. So after energy, minerals, and food, your basic resources, there's a divide. Very nice. Then you've got your advanced resources, consumer goods, alloys, now trade, and strategic resources has been shifted next to trade. Putting all of these together, you've got another divide with influence, unity, and science. Your not tangible physical resources, but resources nonetheless. And you do have these blue arrows next to your strategic resources and research. Now, if you didn't know, you can actually click on every single element at the top and it brings up stuff related to it. So you can click on your naval cap to go to fleet management, or envoys to see your envoys, but your rare resources and your physics actually drop down to tell you more details. So I presume that's why those blue arrows are there. The rare resources, you can actually see all types, and the science, you can see the 3 different types, just giving you as a player, especially if you're new, more indication that that can actually be clipped, which is really nice. Then you've got your Empire Sprawl, envoys, starbases, and fleet management, and POPs has gone because, well, we have learned POPs don't exist. I'm wondering if these are actually going to be even displayed on the top bar. Judging by this top bar, we're not. Next is logistical upkeep. Hello, grunts at work here. With Eldaron's UI wizardry done, I shall step in to reveal some of our trade secrets to you. Speaking of trade secrets, I have a trade deal for you. If you subscribe to my channel right now for free, I'll just keep producing more and more Stellaris content for you to enjoy. I think that's a perfectly good deal, so you're going to do it. And if you're already subscribed, you may as well like. Back to the dev diary. The majority of your trade upkeep will come from 2 sources in the new system. First, local planetary deficits will carry a small trade upkeep. What? This is quite interesting. Let's continue reading. A fraction of the missing resource value on the galactic market. So, depending on how expensive a resource is, which you can manipulate, by the way, you will have a trade upkeep on that planet. Okay. This represents the logistical effort required to commandeer freighters to supply a world that is not self-sufficient and therefore requires resources to be transported in from off-world. Mind you, this will occur in addition to normal deficits, if your entire empire is not capable of supplying those needs either. In short, your planets will either satisfy their own local needs or require trade to offset the logistical cost. Holy moly. Okay, this changes everything, because previously you want to specialize your worlds. There's no negative to it, and your building slots are limited. If you want an alloy world, you'll usually have alloy building, loads of industrial districts, put it to an alloy world, only work alloys because the designation gives buffs to that, and you can stack modifiers based on that. Now, that's going to have a huge mineral upkeep, which is a local deficit, meaning you're going to need trade to pay to lug the minerals over there. From a lore / how economies work, this makes sense. To be honest, it's going to be really interesting how much it actually costs. Are we going to either have to A, make a trade planet, no matter the build, to actually pay for these deficits on local planets? Or do we make sure the planets have minimal deficits? i.e., are we going to have our ally worlds also produce minerals? Or C, do we actually need to work clerks? Are clerks actually unironically going to be the best job in the game? We'll see. The reason being, we might only need a small amount of trade, so actually having those random clerk jobs worked would save on making a designated trade planet. And that's not all. The second major trade upkeep will come from fleets. Any fleets currently docked at one of your starbases have no trade upkeep. Once your fleets start to move, they will gain a small trade upkeep, representing the logistical efforts required to support them. The small upkeep will increase if your fleet's in hostile territory. That is territory owned by another empire you are at war with, and supplying them becomes so much more dangerous, and space insurance coverage is no joke. In the future, logistical upkeep could potentially be used to counteract doom stacking, for example by scaling upkeep with the number of ships in a fleet, dividing by the number of fleets per system, etc. We have no concrete solution yet, but welcome your thoughts. With these new sources of trade upkeep, it is of course important to mention that we will also introduce a new trade deficit. Like Unity, this will not create a deficit situation, but a country modifier that persists until the deficit is dealt with. Running a trade deficit will reduce advanced resource production, alloys, consumer goods, Unity, and research, and all ship weapon damage. That's a lot to unpack. So we're definitely going to need to produce trade. That's the first thing. Whether having like clerks or a few traders work is enough, we'll have to see what numbers they run with, but I genuinely am leaning towards having a designated trade world. I really like the increase in cost of fleets. Will this still have an energy cost, or is that replacing it? Doesn't actually say. But essentially ships, in my opinion, is what causes a lot of late game lag, because there's so many of them because of the inflation of resources. Every update gives us a way of just generating an insane amount of resources. We've had killer structures that just give you free alloys, essentially, with a bit of upkeep. You've got the lathe, which just could give you insane tech, so you can just generate lots more ships way more quick, so there's more on the map. Grand Admiral AI is quite good as well, so they produce a lot of ships, and the pathing of them, and the fact that every ship's simulated, means when you're in a battle, that's why you get the slideshow, because every single weapon, every single hangar, all being simulated. I don't hate this change though. I think it's good that when you go to war, you need to logistically think about that. It doesn't mention neutral space. Does that increase the cost? I'm presuming no. It's going to add an extra dimension to the entire game. I think that's all I can really theory based on what we've been told. It's definitely going to need to be tested and how it actually feels in the game. And it really depends on what numbers they run with. The numbers could range from it doesn't matter at all to it matters way too much. Obviously, they want to find the middle ground. Stockpiling trade and using trade in the market. Our intent is for trade policies to continue to exist going forward. Good. I thought that might have gone, but I'm glad it's still there. Currently, we expect to have half of your net trade income after paying logistical upkeep converted to other resources using your trade policy, plus any that might otherwise overflow your storage. Some of the current trade policies may be tweaked a bit. The rest will go into your resource stockpile as an advanced resource. Okay, this is good. I thought trade builds might be dead, because I thought policies might go, but it looks like it's not. Luckily, it does pay for the logistical upkeep first. And interestingly, anything that overflows from the storage would go into your trade policy. So to get around the half counting to the trade policy, you could get to max trade and then let it all go into the trade policy. Is my understanding correct? Who knows? But that's kind of what it implies. It's going to be meta to have your trade overflow. In addition, the galactic market has been adjusted so that its primary trading resource is trade. Well, that makes sense, I guess. As such, energy is now available on the market as a standard resource. The energy storage cap has been brought to the same level as minerals and food, while trade storage cap has been set to 50,000 at the base level. This changes so much. Oh my gosh. I'm going to finish it before I theory graph. As we are in the middle of the implementation, we are adjusting this as we receive internal feedback, and will continue to do so when it is time for our open beta. We'll be keeping a close eye on the value of trade as a resource. If necessary, we'll keep turning the dials to ensure it is an actually interesting resource to focus on. For modders, the main market resource is set as a defined and can now be switched to something else. That's pretty cool as well. You can actually change what the market's trading if you're a modder. Okay, breakdown. I 100% agree. They're going to have to really fine tune this because I think the gap between useless and too important are quite big, whereas the optimal is like this small little slice. This also makes energy far worse because when I do a robot build, which we haven't even got onto how it works with Gestalt. I can see that's the next title, so we will get onto that. But say as a robot, or when I'm playing tech rushing, I try and maximize energy because I can use energy to buy other things. Energy is still going to need upkeep for different things, I'm presuming, but it's not going to be the thing you can use to buy, so you probably don't need to go too much into it. It's going to have a max value at which inflation kicks in, so you don't want to produce like 400 energy. Just be quite useless. So you're going to want to produce trade. Trade might be the most meta build. I don't know what's going on here. Gestalt empires and trade. Rejoice! Friends of bugs and bolts. You too will be able to enjoy the benefits of trade starting with 4.0. Well, there we go, that answers my question. As part of the Phoenix update, Gestalt empires will be able to collect trade like normal empires do, from both jobs and deposits. In contrast to normal empires, Gestalt empires will rarely do so with traders and clerks. Instead, their most basic drones, maintenance drones for example, will create trade in addition to their normal resources and modifiers. In addition, you'll also have access to trade policies to enrich their common wallet. Oh my god. Of course, with benefits come drawbacks. And so Gestalt empires will also deal with the logistical upkeep for local planetary deficits and fleets that are not docked and or within hostile territory. The galactic market will of course also accept Gestalt trade as its main resource. In the future, we're also considering megacorp Gestalt empires for your corporate drone needs, but whether we'll have time to do that for 4.0 or later remains to be seen. Okay, so we're losing the unique feature of Gestalts not being able to use trade, but it makes sense with what the changes they're doing. If Gestalts didn't have the logistical upkeep and the fleet upkeep, they'd just be so strong. So I do like that it's being brought in. I like how you can do trade builds with them, I guess. From a lore point of view, I don't get why they'd have trade policies. I guess if they're trading with other empires, it's a bit weird, but it makes sense for them to get it gameplay-wise. And again, this comes back to my previous point. Robots were the best at producing energy, so you just maximize energy and buy whatever you need. Now what? This needs to be played for me to fully understand. Also, what happens to the solar panels? Do robots get the trade stuff? Are solar panels being removed? Solar panels, my beloved, no. And Megacorp Gestalts? Yeah, why not, innit? You may as well. Corporate branch office updates. For branch offices, we have a plethora of improvements ready for your enjoyment, courtesy of our ever-industrious Mr. Cosmogon. Branch office buildings are now all limited to 1 per planet, and now give more appropriate jobs to the host planet, like the Overlord buildings. I always found it weird that they just give a clerk or a merchant. I like that. So hopefully the science building for Megacorps gives them researchers. They also increase local trade production based on those jobs, and their corporate resource output is in turn increased by local trade. So more merchanty jobs do more trade stuff, I'm guessing, and they also increase local trade. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what that means. Most corporate civics now also give bonuses to a specific branch office building, increasing its trade value bonus and receiving merchant jobs on the capital from it. Wait, so if you're going like a tech megacorp civic, it's going to give you more tech from the tech building. I really like that as well. Those are some nice changes. And whenever you build it, you get a merchant job on your capital. I think that's quite cool as well. You won't have to really focus too much on trade because you'll produce so much. Numerous changes have been made to the criminal syndicates. Oh, this is what everyone's been wanting. Criminal empires can now establish commercial pacts. Oh my word. So I've just done a criminal megacorp run, and the fact you can't get them makes them so bad because megacorps get a lot of their trade value from commercial pacts. That's huge. Having a commercial pact with a criminal empire will replace all criminal buildings with their lawful counterpart. As long as the commercial pact remains, criminal branch offices will not be removed from the planet. Okay, so this gives a third way of dealing with crime from criminal megacorps. The first one is war them. The second one is get to 0% crime and hope the game randomly decides to kick it off. Or number 3, new and improved, make a commercial pact with them. It makes it lawful, so I'm guessing it won't produce any crime from the jobs and the buildings, and you're good to go. You can also use it as a threat against other empires, like if you break your commercial pact, well, you're going to get lots of crime. That's very interesting. I like that. It also lets you finally stop AI empires doing stupid crime to you. You just need to get a commercial pact with them. And it's a diplomacy option rather than fight them or get lucky. All criminal branch office buildings have had their crime value set to 25 and give 1 criminal job alongside a regular job. I will load up my recently played crime run. So as you can see, the smuggler port gives 50 crime and no criminal job, and the illicit research does 40 and no criminal job. Actually, none of them give criminal jobs. Okay, so that's a big change. Basically, it means you need them to work the criminal jobs to get the required crime that you used to get. Unless they change anything, criminals produce 8 8 crime, I believe, and lower trade value by 5. And you also give that regular job that's relating to the branch office. I'm presuming anyway. We've also added a crime floor to non-criminal branch office buildings on empires they have had a trade agreement with, which means there will always be a minimum amount of crime on the branch office planet. Criminal branch offices are also up to 25% more profitable on high crime planets. So a floor is the minimum value that crime can be. So that means even if you have a commercial pack deal, you're gonna have 25% crime. But luckily, unless they change anything, crime events only happen at 30% or more. So you're not gonna get crime events, you're just gonna have 25% crime, which makes sense. It shouldn't completely eliminate it. I'm not sure with this last sentence if that means even if you do the commercial pact, you'll still get more profit if it's high crime. So you might, you know, want them to have crime even if you do a commercial pact. Balance wise, these buildings are more impactful. The branch office buildings now cost influence. Oh no. And branch offices now take up 5 empire size instead of 2. Okay, that hurts a little bit and definitely means you want to play tall with any megacorps. I think before it wasn't as punishing. As remember, being a corporate means your empire size from planets is plus 50%, which can hurt. So you definitely want to play tall. You're going to want to spend that influence on commercial packs rather than systems as well. Oh, and we have also allowed megacorps to open branch offices on other megacorps. The influence cost is doubled when built on a planet owned by another megacorp. Oh my word, that's huge! So whenever you play a megacorp, you usually get megacorps around you because the way the game spawns empires is it spawns empires that are close to what you are or the exact opposite, I think. So you'd get a lot of megacorps around you. Now it doesn't matter, because you can put the branch offices in them, you can make good trades. I really love that change. Next up is Mammalian Portraits. Thanks grunts at work. Now a message from content design lead CG Inglis. Is that how you say it? I'm sorry, I don't know. And now, my dear friends, one more surprise for you. The Stellaris 4.0 Phoenix update brings 10 positively stunning new Mammalian Portraits to the base game. I mean, these do look pretty good. I love more variety. I'm not going to name the animals because I'm going to make myself look like a fool, but you can see them here. And then you can see them in bigger images. I mean, we love variety, and I'm not going to make a fairy joke. Next week, we'll start talking about how pops will change and might pull up the new planet UI. Since the branch itself is still very full of placeholders, we'll be using the design mockups while explaining the changes. See you then. Now, I think the perfect video for you to go watch is my clerk only run with the old trade system. It's not old yet, it's the current one, but it's about to go. I'm sure you'll love it. It's an RP multiplayer clerk only shenanigans empire. Click it right here to watch it. Goodbye.